Hey there kind people, it's me Eun-bi. Welcome back to my review of Island 2. And hey, if I have to summarize this episode, it has to be boring, typical Mnet stuff, and Jiyoon. Just like me, Mnet loves Jiyoon so much. They love her so much that they can't stop giving her screen time. They have to show her reaction to everything from every angle. That's not evaluated, that's just their love. I'm actually planning a video around this topic, you might see that soon. Anyway, as Mnet can't stop loving Jiyoon, they started the episode showing an awkward moment between Jiyoon and Junghoon in the island, like Jiyoon sits on the other side of the table, not with Junghoon. Wow, what a necessary clip that was. If they hadn't shown it, I would have lived with lies. Now let's talk about the new round, the 1v1 position round. As the name suggests, Islander will go head to head, but it will not be a team performance. They will compete against the person who chose the same part. For example, team A's main vocalist, opponent is team B's main vocalist. Both teams will perform the same song. It is the fairest way to judge and it is interesting. Now let's talk about the song they will perform. I Will Always Love You. I will if you subscribe. Anyway, it is an original song and they left a part empty and gave the Islanders a chance to fill that part. They can write the lyrics and the producer will choose whose lyrics fit the most. The winner will also get credited in the final song. It was a great concept. It is not something new, as in Produce the rappers come up with their own rap so they get created, but it was something fun. Anyway, Fuko won this original lyrics contest and as a benefit she can choose any part of any team in the 1v1 position battle. The producers ranked all 12 Islanders based on everything that happened so far. Based on that rank, they can choose the team and the parts, but Fuko can push anyone. According to the producer, Jimin was the first, and no doubt she is. Despite getting the chance to choose first, she chose part 4. The makers really tried to show a Jiyoon vs Junghoon scenario, but they failed thanks to Fuko. At first, they wanted both Junghoon and Jiyoon to choose the same part, but Jiyoon chose the center of team A. I know makers were happy because this way they could show a clash between Junghoon and Jiyoon. I was happy too because in my mind, if they work together, they can resolve this. But thanks to Fuko, she chose team A's center, pushing Jiyoon to team B's main vocal. Her opponent was Sujung. She wanted to try being the main vocal and this time she got the opportunity. But clearly it wasn't her strong suit. There was a point when they were discussing changing her part. If that had ended up being the case, I would not have liked it. If she can just change her part, then what was the meaning of ranking and choosing? That also wouldn't have been fair for their opponents. Speaking of practice, this episode was mostly boring. They tried to stretch the episode too much. Normally in a round there are 4 to 5 performances, but today there were just 2 or 3 if we count round. To fill up the time they showed too much of the practice and personally I only care about the performance. I consider behind the scenes as filler. They also mostly focused on the Islanders. They really sidelined Grounders. They could have just shown more of Grounders side and made it less boring. Out of 2 hours, Grounders got hardly 10 minutes and those 10 minutes were mostly about Jiyoon and Sol. When it comes to their performance, they showed a montage of their practice rather than the full practice session because they ran out of time. They could have easily fixed it by cutting some unnecessary parts of Islanders like Jiyoon and her random comments. The Grounders also didn't have anything to gain from this round. All of them are performing, but for what? The producer will not judge them. There is no way they will get into Island other than waiting for the votes. People have already made up their minds about who to vote for and hardly anyone's perspective will change just by one performance. And only a few people actually vote based on performances. As we on that topic, let's talk about their performance. It was decent, it wasn't that good. Some of them were good, like Jiyoon and Gyuri. I loved it when it was their part. Cheon's part was cute. Jiyoon is good, but I felt the same about Jiyoon as 2 weeks ago. She has it, but she is holding back. The best part of their performance was the dance break in the end. As they had more members, they got an advantage in that, and it looked cool. Anyway, as Islanders had so much screen time, I expected all of them would get at least some. I expected too much. Only Coco, Sebi, Sujang, Jimin and their favorite Jiyoon a bit got most of the screen time. After all the foreshadowing and glimpse, I thought Jimin would be the main character of today's episode. Well, there were some portions dedicated to her, like showing one single mistake hundreds of times, but it wasn't as much as I thought they would do. Now as it was 1v1, I will compare both teams and all of the parts one by one. If I consider it a team performance, Team B was clear winner. They had a great team synergy. Team A was heavily relying on Fuko and Sebi. In Team A, Fuko, Sebi and Mai had memorable parts. Even after weeks, I might remember them, but in Team B's case, I will remember the whole performance. They performed the same song, but Team A's performance was a bit bland, while Team B was more energetic. Now let's go over part by part. First, the center. Fuko was visually gorgeous and Yu had a strong image. They both were good, but Fuko was better. In main vocal, Sujung did pull it off, but she kinda lacked expression. Not every time, but in some parts, she was a bit awkward. Every time she was about to hit those notes, I was afraid she would miss it, but thankfully she got it. On the other hand, Jiyoon had a full sweep. Among all 12 of them, she was the best today. As for main dancer, Coco and Sebi were the key factors, and I believe they were the reason both songs had different vibes. Coco was surprising and her expression was good. Sebi was totally different. I know she is young and some might come after me, but she has a sexy factor. Most people say Jonghoon or Jimin should be the center, but I think if Sebi debuts, she should be the center because she is born to be the center. Even if she doesn't get the center part, she will make her part like a center part. Next up, the fourth part. I was expecting Jimin would mess up something big because of all the foreshadowing, but it was a bit anticlimactic. She got a short part, so she couldn't show more. Even it was Jimin, and in her past she killed it even if she had 5 seconds of line, so I can see what judges meant. But Sarang wasn't good either, they both were decent. Next up, part 5. Jonghoon and Lingling were going to head to head. I have to say Jonghoon was stable and good, but not memorable. I noticed her, but then when her part ended, I forgot about her. But Lingling was better in that case. Every time she surprises me because every time she shows something new. I love her for that. Lastly, the most difficult to choose for me part was that Mai and Yuju were against each other. Yuju was great, but Mai is something. She keeps getting the last part, but because of her expression and acting, she just steals the performance. Mai definitely should try acting. One thing I will say, I'm grateful both teams gave a wonderful performance. Despite performing the same song, it felt totally different. It was wonderful. Here ends the first part of Island 2. From the next week, part 2 will start, which means audiences vote matter. But I saw that next week's episode will be a filler episode like camping or visiting outside. It was in the subtitle, I couldn't read it properly, but if that's the case, obviously I will skip next week. Anyway, it is time to update my top 7 and here are they. First, Bang Jimin, second Nam Yuju, third Son Joo-won, fourth Eun Jiyoon, fifth Jung Sebi, sixth Mai, seventh Fuko. This is getting harder. I really love Fuko and Mai, also Lingling and also Sujung. Jonghoon was kinda mid today, but I know she has the potential. Gyuri, Coco, Sarang, Yu and Jiyoon are also good. I love Jiyoon because of her personality. It is really getting harder for me. I guess that's the part of the survival show. Anyway, watch this video next and I'm going to stream Mona Lisa. You guys keep having awesome life.